Well, hi everyone, Steve Patterson here from PhotoshopEssentials.com. In this video, I'll show you how to blend text into clouds in Photoshop. By the end of the video, you'll know how to blend text not just into clouds, but into any background you like. I'll be using Photoshop CC, but any recent version will work. Thanks for watching, and let's get started. To create the effect, you'll need a photo of clouds. I'll use this image that I downloaded from Adobe Stock. If we look in the Layers panel, we see that I've already gone ahead and added some text, which is sitting on a type layer above the background layer. I'll turn the text on by clicking the Type Layer's visibility icon. And now we see the words Creative Clouds, a little spin on Adobe's Creative Cloud in front of the image. I've added a gradient and an outer glow just to make the text easier to see. At the moment, the text is sitting in front of the image. To blend the text into the image, we can use Photoshop's blending options. Double-click on an empty gray area of the type layer. This opens the Layer Style dialog box set to the blending options. If we look down at the bottom, we see two sliders. The slider on top is labeled This Layer, and the slider below it is labeled Underlying Layer. And these are commonly known as Photoshop's Blend If sliders, and they let us blend our currently selected layer with the layers below it based on the luminosity or the brightness values of the layers. To blend the text in with the image, the only slider we need is the bottom one, the one labeled Underlying Layer. We can use this slider to hide parts of our text based on the brightness values of the image below it. First, make sure that the Blend If option above the sliders is set to gray. Then, click on the white slider below the right side of the underlying layer gradient bar and begin dragging it towards the left. When you reach a certain point, you'll see the text begin to disappear into the brightest parts of the image, which in this case is the clouds. And that's because by dragging the white slider to a darker part of the gradient, we're telling Photoshop to hide the text in any areas where the image below it or behind it is this brightness level or brighter. In this case, it's anywhere where the image is at a brightness level of 180 all the way up to pure white at 255. If we continue dragging the white slider further to the left, we see more of the text disappearing into darker and darker parts of the sky. And if I drag the slider back to the right, the text in those darker areas reappears. Notice that the transition between the text and the clouds looks too harsh. To fix that, on a Windows PC, press and hold the Alt key on your keyboard. On a Mac, press and hold the Option key. Then click on either side of the slider and drag to split the slider apart. We now have two halves of the slider that we can move independently of each other. The half on the left sets the maximum brightness value of the image where the text in front of it will remain completely visible. The half on the right does the opposite. It sets the minimum brightness of the image where the text will be completely hidden. In other words, anywhere where the image is pure black up to this brightness level, we'll see the text. And anywhere where the image is this brightness level up to pure white, we'll see the image. The area in between the two halves creates a gradual transition between the text and the image. The greater the distance, the smoother the transition, allowing the text to blend more naturally into the clouds. You'll want to adjust each half of the slider to fine-tune the effect. Notice that if I drag the left half too far into the darker shades, the letters begin to fade into the sky. And that's not what I want, so I'll drag it back to the right until the text reappears. Then I'll drag the right half further to the right so we can see more of the text through the brightest parts of the clouds. I'll drag the dialog box down a bit so we can see the effect on the text in the upper right. So far, we've used the white slider on the right to blend the text into the lighter parts of the image, but there's also a black slider on the left that we could use to blend the text into the darker areas. If we were blending the text into a different background, something other than clouds, then we could drag the black slider towards the right. And as we do, we see the text disappearing into the darkest areas of the image. And just like with the white slider, we could press and hold the Alt key on a Windows PC or the Option key on a Mac and drag the slider to split it in half and create a smoother transition. But in this case, all we're doing is blending the text into the sky, which isn't what we want. So I'll click on the right half of the black slider and I'll drag it back to the left half. This merges the two halves back into a single slider. Then I'll drag the slider back over to its original spot on the left. And now we're back to blending the text only into the clouds. When you're done adjusting the sliders, click OK to close the Layer Style dialog box. And there we have it. That's how to blend text into clouds or into any background image using the blending options in Photoshop. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please consider liking it, sharing it, and subscribing to our channel. Visit our website, photoshopessentials.com, for more tutorials. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. I'm Steve Patterson from photoshopessentials.com.